Welcome back. I'm Sonia, and I'm thrilled to have you join me once again on this love story journey, a journey filled with the kind of passion every woman dreams of. I recommend putting on your headphones so you can fully immerse yourself in the tender, passionate words from Raj to Andrea, accompanied by the calm and gentle piano music that mirrors their love. So, grab your cup of tea and a piece of cake, no cookies today. We need something sweeter to match the story's warmth. And please, don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps me grow and allows me to share more beautiful stories with you. See you next week, or maybe even sooner. Now, let's begin. Thank you for watching my stories. Andrea, feeling the weight of the moment, said, "First, I want to read the card." "Calm down, Susie." Susie, ever the playful one, teased, "Andrea, you're always the romantic." "If it were me, I'd open the box first." With trembling hands, Andrea carefully opened the envelope while Raj watched her every expression from a distance, his heart pounding. As Andrea began to read the note, her breath caught in her throat. "Andrea, this necklace is meant to accentuate your beauty even more. I noticed how captivated you were by it at the jewelry store, so I decided to fulfill your unspoken wish. I hope it brings you as much joy as it will bring me to see you wear it. Sincerely, Raj." As she finished reading, Andrea's eyes darted around the lobby, searching for the mysterious man who had delivered the box. Sensing her friend's unease, Susie, growing impatient, asked, "Andrea, what's written on the card? Why do you look so shaken? What did your secret admirer say?" Still processing what had just happened, Andrea handed the card to Susie, her voice trembling. "Susie, this is... I don't know what to think. Did you see where that man went?" But Susie was already engrossed in the card, barely listening to Andrea's question. After reading it, she looked up, her eyes wide with excitement. "Andrea, whoever gave you that necklace must be completely smitten. This necklace isn't just expensive, it's a declaration." Andrea stared at her friend, bewildered. "Susie, how could someone have fallen in love with me? We just arrived here yesterday. I don't know anyone in this city, and I didn't notice anyone paying attention to me. Are you losing your mind?" Andrea's thoughts began to race as she remembered something. Susie noticed her pensive expression and asked, "What are you thinking?" Andrea hesitated, then said, "Susie, do you remember when you were already outside the store and called me to come out?" "Yes," Susie replied, curious. "Why?" Andrea continued, her voice almost a whisper, "Because when I turned to leave the store, I saw a man. He was stunning. He was just standing there, looking at me with an intensity one can't describe. I stopped, frozen, and for a few seconds, it was like we were the only two people in the world. I was completely mesmerized until you called me. After I left the store, I turned back once more to see him, and he was still watching me." Susie, always ready to lighten the mood, grinned mischievously. "Let's go into a bunch of stores today, and you can try on everything you like. If he's watching, he'll buy it all and have it delivered to you. And since he's already head over heels, we can trick him. I'll give you stuff to try on, and we can share the spoils. How about that for a plan?" Andrea shook her head, her anxiety returning. "This isn't a joke, Susie. Don't you understand? This man knows where we're staying. He's been following us." Her voice quivered with fear as she scanned the lobby nervously. She quickly walked over to the front desk and asked the hotel employee, "Has anyone asked for me?" The man behind the counter smiled politely. No, no one has asked about you. Raj, hidden from view, observed Andrea's every move, noting the worry etched on her face. Andrea, her heart pounding, turned to Susie and said, "Let's go upstairs. I need to put this necklace in the room. I don't want to go out wearing it. This whole situation feels strange." As she turned towards the elevator, Andrea's gaze locked with Raj's. He stood there, a small smile playing on his lips, and gave a subtle wave. Andrea felt her face flush with warmth, her heart skipping a beat, and she shyly waved back. Oblivious as always, Susie tugged on Andrea's arm, urging her towards the elevator. "Come on, Andrea. Why are you just standing there? We need to have breakfast and then explore more of the city. Let's go." Andrea, still dazed, murmured, "It's him." Susie looked at her in confusion. "Who, Andrea? What are you talking about?" Andrea, her eyes still locked on Raj, whispered, "The man I saw at the store, Susie." Susie, eyes wide with mock alarm, said in her usual playful tone, "Let's get out of here, Andrea. We should call the hotel security." But Andrea, unable to look away from Raj, shook her head. "Stop it, Susie. What could he possibly do in the middle of the hotel?" Neither Susie nor Andrea realized that the hotel was, in fact, his. Susie, now noticing Raj, admitted, "He's just gorgeous, Andrea." At that moment, Raj approached them, his presence commanding yet warm. He introduced himself with a smile, and though Andrea's heart raced with anxiety, she and Susie greeted him politely, their nerves barely concealed. Andrea asked, "How are you?" Raj replied, "Thank you for asking. I'm well, and you?" Susie, always ready with a quip, chimed in, "I'm doing great." Andrea, still trying to process everything, said, "I'm fine, a little confused, but fine." She added, "I've seen you before." Raj nodded, "Yes, you have. We crossed paths at the jewelry store yesterday." Their eyes met, and in that fleeting moment, it felt as if an invisible force was drawing them closer together. Meanwhile, Onik watched the scene unfold from a distance, keeping a vigilant eye on Raj. Suddenly, one of Raj's security guards appeared beside him, heightening the tension in the air. Andrea noticed the guard and said, "Excuse me, I need to speak with that man." Raj, with a playful glint in his eye, asked, "Does it have to be now?" Andrea eyed Raj suspiciously. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," Raj responded, his tone warm and inviting. "Are you staying here too?" Andrea inquired. Raj shook his head. "No, I'm not." Determined, Andrea insisted, "Excuse me, but I really need to speak with that man." Just as she began to walk away, Raj called after her, "Are you planning to ask him who sent you the necklace?" Andrea and Susie exchanged startled glances, taken aback by Raj's insight. "How do you know about the necklace?" Andrea asked, her voice tinged with both curiosity and caution. "Because I'm the one who gave it to you," Raj confessed, a smile playing on his lips. He was simply the messenger. Andrea and Susie looked at each other again, still processing the situation. Andrea, gathering her thoughts, said, "May I ask you 2 questions?" Raj nodded, "Ask away." "Why did you give me the necklace? And how did you find me here at this hotel?" Susie, ever inquisitive, added, "Yeah, I'm curious about that too." Raj locked eyes with Andrea, his gaze intense yet gentle. I was in the store when you asked to see the necklace. I noticed how much it captivated you. After you left, I asked the jeweler to box it up so I could take it with me. Andrea tilted her head slightly. But why? Raj's smile deepened. I still need to answer your second question. Andrea and Susie exchanged knowing smiles, intrigued by his mystery. Raj continued, the man in white, who was with the messenger, works for me. He informed me that you had checked into this hotel. Andrea's eyes widened. So you mean he was following me? Susie's playful demeanor faded as she said, I'm starting to get a little freaked out by all of this. Andrea nodded in agreement, a hint of unease creeping in. Raj, sensing their discomfort, spoke softly. Andrea, I noticed you long before you saw me in the store. Susie, now fully serious, said, I don't like where this is going. Andrea, her nerves on edge, added, neither do I. Raj maintained his calm demeanor. Andrea, I understand how this might seem unsettling, but could we sit down? I'd like to explain. Andrea hesitated before agreeing. All right, but please, keep it brief. Raj took a deep breath and began, I was sitting by my window in my apartment when I saw you walking with your friend. Something about your presence captivated me, an energy I couldn't ignore. I asked Onik to bring me my binoculars because I felt an immediate connection, something I can't quite explain. He continued, his voice steady. I knew I had to meet you, to be near you. So I left my apartment and began searching for you. When I passed by the store and saw you inside, I felt as if fate had led me there. I had to go in. Susie, still skeptical, said, this is all sounding increasingly strange. Raj nodded, understanding their concern. I know it seems odd, Susie, but have you ever felt a powerful pull towards someone, as if you were meant to meet them? That's what I felt, and I couldn't ignore it. Andrea, despite her initial reservations, found herself mesmerized by Raj's words. His sincerity touched her deeply, and it was evident in the way her gaze softened, her fears slowly melting away. Suddenly, a hotel employee approached their table. Onik, noticing the intrusion, quickly moved to intercept, but the employee reached them first. He bowed slightly and said, Prince Raj, you have a phone call, sir. Raj replied, thank you, I'll take the call right away. He shot a glance at Onik, a silent question in his eyes, as if asking, couldn't you have managed this without interrupting? Onik, reading his expression, nodded in understanding and retreated to his previous spot. Apologizing to Andrea and Susie, Raj stood up and headed to the reception. Upon arrival, he asked the front desk clerk, who's on the line? The employee responded, your mother, sir. Raj sighed lightly, thank you. I'll take the call in the office. Meanwhile, Susie and Andrea sat frozen, their minds racing with questions. Susie finally broke the silence. Andrea, did you hear that? Did the hotel employee just call him Prince Raj? Back at the lounge, Susie eyed Andrea curiously. Andrea, is it just me, or are your eyes sparkling a bit more than usual? You're into him, aren't you? Andrea blushed deeply. When I first saw him in the store, something about him just drew me in. You were already outside, but for a few moments, we just stared at each other, like there was something magnetic between us. Susie nodded. And now? Andrea, this man just gifted you a necklace that's worth a fortune. That's not something you do for a casual acquaintance. But you know how strict their traditions can be. Andrea felt a pang of anxiety. Susie, please stop. You're making it sound like I'm about to be introduced to his parents. It's too soon. And look, he's coming back. Be quiet. Raj returned, offering a warm smile. I apologize for that. Where were we? Andrea, still flustered, replied, It's okay, don't worry. Raj continued, Oh yes, I was telling you about how I first noticed you from my window. It must seem strange, I know, but I felt this overwhelming need to find you. And when I saw you in the store, I knew the connection I felt was real. Andrea, tell me honestly, didn't you feel something when you looked at me? Andrea's cheeks flushed even more, but before she could answer, Susie, sensing the intensity of the moment, said, I'll just be over there. I think you two need some privacy. Andrea, call if you need anything. Thanks, Susie, Andrea said softly. Once Susie had moved away, Andrea looked back at Raj. Yes, it's true. When our eyes met, I felt something different. But Raj, I overheard the hotel staff refer to you as a prince. Is that true? Raj nodded. Yes, Andrea, it's true. The man who gave you the necklace, and the one standing by Onik, are part of my personal security detail. Onik, besides being my closest friend, is also my most trusted confidant. Andrea was momentarily speechless, her mind racing. This is all so overwhelming. Raj leaned in slightly, his voice gentle. There's no need to be overwhelmed, Andrea. The moment I saw you, something changed within me. Can I ask you something? Andrea nodded, of course. Raj asked, his voice almost hesitant, Are you involved with anyone? Andrea held his gaze, her heart pounding. No, I'm not. Relief washed over Raj, and his heart swelled with hope. A myriad of possibilities flashed through his mind. Andrea, noticing the shift in his expression, asked, Why do you ask, Raj? Meanwhile, on the other side of the reception, Onik was growing increasingly uneasy. He was all too aware of the risks Raj was taking. As a prince, engaged to be married, it wasn't appropriate in their culture for him to be having such an intimate conversation with another woman. Susie, sitting a short distance away, watched her friend closely, trying to gauge Andrea's reaction as Raj spoke. Raj said, Because I'd like to invite you to dinner. Unfortunately, I have prior commitments today, but I'm free tomorrow. And don't worry, Susie is invited as well. Andrea considered for a moment before replying, Yes, I'd love to join you for dinner. Where should we meet? Raj smiled, I'll have my driver pick you up at 7 p.m. That sounds perfect, Andrea responded. Raj continued, I need to get going, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow. You're an extraordinary person, and I had a feeling my instincts were right. Enjoy your day, and don't miss breakfast here, it's divine. Andrea, captivated by Raj's charm, replied, If you say the breakfast is divine, I believe you. See you tomorrow, and have a wonderful day. Raj then turned to Susie, Goodbye, Susie. See you tomorrow. Susie waved back with a grin. As soon as Raj walked away, Susie rushed over to Andrea, barely able to contain her excitement. What did he mean by see you tomorrow? Andrea, smiling broadly, replied, He invited us to dinner with him. Meanwhile, Onik and Raj's bodyguard, Riva, began walking as they noticed Raj saying his farewells to Andrea and Susie. Onik turned to Riva, cautioning, You didn't see anything here today, understood? Riva, catching on quickly, smirked and replied, What hotel? I've never even heard of this place. As they made their way out of the hotel, Andrea and Susie stood in stunned silence, trying to process everything that had just transpired. Susie finally broke the silence, I can't believe it. A prince saw you through his window, went to the jewelry store just to see you up close, bought the necklace you admired, had his assistant follow you, and now has invited us to dinner. This is unreal." Andrea, still in disbelief, murmured, "Susie, pinch me." Susie, eager to bring her friend back to reality, pinched her arm. Andrea yelped, "Ouch! Are you out of your mind? You told me to pinch you, so I did," Susie replied, grinning mischievously. The girls headed upstairs to store the necklace in the hotel safe. As they entered the room, Susie asked, "Can I see your necklace again?" "Of course," Andrea replied, handing it over. "You can even try it on if you like." "Are you going to wear it to dinner tomorrow?" Susie inquired. "Absolutely," Andrea nodded. "It would be rude not to." Susie hesitated for a moment before asking, "Can I ask you something, Andrea?" "Yes, of course," Andrea said, curious. "Did you feel the same way about Raj as he did about you?" Andrea paused, reflecting on the whirlwind of emotions she'd experienced. "It's like I told you before. When I saw Raj in the store, something inside me shifted. It felt as if I'd known him forever, like we shared an unspoken connection. It's hard to put into words." She continued, "I remember when you called my name, it was like snapping out of a trance. I left the store in a hurry, but as soon as I was outside, I felt this overwhelming need to turn back and see him one more time." Susie, intrigued, asked, "Andrea, do you believe in love at first sight?" "I've heard people talk about it, but I've never experienced it myself," Andrea admitted. "So, are you telling me you're in love with Raj?" Susie teased, unable to hide her smile. "Stop teasing me," Andrea replied, but a small smile tugged at the corners of her lips. Meanwhile, in Raj's car, Onik sat in tense silence, his face etched with worry. Raj glanced over at him and said, "We'll talk at home." Onik simply nodded, knowing all too well what was coming. As soon as they arrived home, Raj sat down and called Onik over. Onik approached cautiously, fully aware that Raj was displeased. Raj's voice was calm but firm. "Onik, why didn't you stop the hotel employee from addressing me as Prince Raj in front of Andrea? I didn't want her to find out that way. Fortunately, she handled it discreetly and only asked me to confirm what she'd heard. Of course, I had no choice but to tell her the truth." Onik quickly explained, "When I saw the employee heading toward you, I tried to get there first, but he was closer. I couldn't reach him in time to intervene." Raj sighed, "I know, Onik. It's not your fault. I'm just frustrated because that wasn't how I wanted her to learn about my title. But what really troubles me is finding out who told my father that I was at the hotel. I had to lie to my mother about why I was there. Now, I'm stuck having dinner with Indara's family tonight at 6:30 p.m. And if I know my mother, she'll probably suggest that I bring my friend from the hotel to dinner one of these days. Can you imagine if I actually took Andrea? Of course, I won't do that, but I'll have to lie again and say that he's already left. My mother won't give me any peace." Onik kept his gaze fixed on Raj, a mix of concern and contemplation on his face. Raj noticed the look and asked, "Why are you staring at me like that?" Onik, choosing his words carefully, said, "Raj, I have 2 questions for you." "Go ahead," Raj replied, leaning back in his chair. "First," Onik began, "how do you plan to tell your parents that you no longer wish to marry Indara? And second, where do you intend to take Andrea and her friend for dinner? You know that you're recognized everywhere, especially since you're a prince." Raj paused before answering, "Dinner will be here at my apartment. This way, I minimize the risk of anyone informing my father." As for telling my parents about Andrea, that conversation will only happen if I'm certain that Andrea feels the same way about me and is willing to face everything that comes with it. If she is, I'll deal with my parents then. Onyx's expression grew more serious. Raj, you know it won't be easy to convince your parents. And if they oppose your decision, what will you do? Raj's voice was resolute. If they try to force me, I'll leave India. I'm not willing to sacrifice my happiness. Onyx's eyes widened in shock. Raj, your parents have the means to find you anywhere in the world. I'm not a child, they can't make me marry someone I don't love, Raj said firmly. Then, his face brightened with sudden inspiration. You've given me an idea, Onyx. Onyx looked puzzled. Idea? What did I say? I didn't suggest anything. Raj's eyes gleamed with determination. I'm going to talk to Indara first. Onyx's face paled. Are you out of your mind? Raj, you know our customs. You've been promised to her since childhood. This isn't something you can just resolve easily. Raj leaned forward, his tone serious. Listen, I'm convinced that Indara doesn't love me either. I believe she harbors feelings for someone else. She's gone to school, college. Do you really think she's never cared for anyone else? She's probably as trapped by this arrangement as I am. It's not fair to either of us. I need to find a way to talk to her privately, maybe after dinner tonight. Onyx sighed deeply. I'd rather stay here and wait for you to come back and tell me how it went, instead of attending that dinner. Raj shook his head. No, you're coming with me. Onyx groaned. Fine, I don't have much of a choice, do I? Raj smiled, his tone softening. And about tomorrow's dinner with Andrea and Susie, I need you to call the hotel and ask Andrea what they would like to have for dinner. Let's make sure it's something they'll enjoy. Onyx nodded, relieved to have a task. I'll do that right away. I don't want you upset with me anymore. Raj chuckled. Thank you, Onyx. After a brief phone call, Onyx returned with a smile. Andrea said she loves Indian food and is sure she'll enjoy whatever is served. Raj smiled, feeling a sense of calm. Perfect. Tomorrow will be special. Okay, make sure the chef prepares chicken tikka masala. It's a dish that almost everyone who visits India wants to try. Also, ask them to prepare another main dish, along with some starters. We want this dinner to be perfect. To be continued. Thanks for watching.